Welcome back to another episode of the Randy Wilson Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Wilson, and today we have the pleasure to be sitting down with William Burnett, who is a candidate for Richmond City Sheriff. And we're very excited to have him today. And we're also very thankful to those who have submitted questions, which we've got a few. But before we get into this conversation, remember you can subscribe to this show everywhere podcasts are played. If you're listening, I'm going to encourage you to go over to YouTube because then you can actually see the visual. And if you want to learn more about me, you can go to randywilsonpodcast.com. And please feel free to follow me on all social media, particularly Instagram, where we'll have some of this cut up. Um, Let me give you a little bit of an introduction for those of you who may not be familiar with Mr. Burnett. William Burnett brings nearly 3 decades of experience in Richmond's law enforcement. His career spans roles from police sergeant to colonel within both the Richmond Police Department and the Sheriff's Office. A Gulf War veteran, Burnett served in the U.S. Army and holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Fayetteville State University. Notably, Burnett served as lieutenant colonel under Sheriff C.T. Woody, whom he followed into the sheriff's office in 2005. For a lot of you who follow my show, I believe C.T. Woody moved on to Charlotte, so there's a lot of Charlotte folks who are tuned in as well, so they'll be able to see that connection. Now, Mr. Burnett is challenging incumbent Sheriff Antoinette Irving in the Democratic primary scheduled for June 17th. This marks his second bid for the position, having previously ran in 2021. Did I get that pretty accurate, sir?
The only thing that wasn't correct was Sheriff Woody just retired. He's still here in Richmond.
Okay, he's
That
in
was
Richmond.
that was yeah, that was Rodney Monroe. He was a police chief.
Rodney Monroe's the one that went to Charlotte.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, that's my error there. Thank you for correcting me on that. Um, so before we get into this, it's a Memorial Day weekend. Are you doing anything special celebrating this weekend?
Well, I have some friends of mine coming over today. We're gonna do some strategizing from the Latin community. We're gonna talk about immigration and how they can help push my campaign forward on the Latin side. So I got a few people we're gonna barbecue together, but that's about it.
That's good. And you are a veteran yourself as well. So
Yes, yes,
um, we
exactly.
we definitely do appreciate your service. Thank you so much. That's the
Thank you.
true. I think I told you before when we spoke on the phone. That's really being all you can be. We're in a community right now where family don't even support each other, much more community. So when you really put yourself out there for the country, it's commendable. And so thank you very much. Um, I'm gonna be pretty targeted. We're looking at probably about a 30-minute conversation here. So I want to be pretty targeted on things that I feel like my listeners really want to know. Um, my first question is your campaign emphasizes community engagement, crime reduction, uh, alternative sentencing. Could you elaborate on how you plan to implement these initiatives?
Well, one of the things that I really want to focus on is our youth, at an early age, a really early age. And, people don't realize when you start to work at an early age, how it makes a difference in reducing crime in the city because we're changing mindsets at an early stage. So I'm going to focus on our youth. And for the first time in the history, we're going to put together a cadet program, never been done in the city of Richmond. That cadet program will follow our youth at an early age and follow them up on through high school. And then I'm hoping to retain those people and then hire them in the sheriff department to be homegrown deputies in our city. And that's what we need more of. We need more examples in our city as to how they can play a part. When they see other people doing it, then they changes their mindset. And then again, that has an effect in reducing crime as well. When you can change the mindsets of these young people out here today, it has a huge impact because these are the people that's going to take over the country. These are the people that's going to continue to fight the fight for us. So we got to work at that early age and that stage to make that difference. And we also got to help families out there. It's got to be a family affair. It can't just be the child because you can take a child out of a bad situation, and then put them back in that bad situation, you're gonna still have a bad situation. So I'm gonna focus not only just the child, but the family. I'm gonna play a role in reducing crime itself. We found that 70% of the people that commit the worst crimes in our city already have warrants on file for their arrest. These are the murderers, the killers, the sex offenders. And we found that 70% of those people are the ones that do the worst damage in our city. So I'm gonna put together a unit that will focus on going after those type people, targeting those people, and not the people that we don't want to put in jail, like the sex offender. I mean the substance abuse and mental health and homelessness and child support, minor issues with marijuana. Those are the people we shouldn't be locking, clogging our facilities up, costing taxpayers tons of money. So I'm going to make sure that we target the crime in Richmond. And I'm going to play a huge role in pushing programming in our substance abuse and our mental health, because these are a lot of people that we lock up and thinking that we can take them off the street, get them out of our hair. But those people coming right back out into our community. So we need to fix those people before we pushing them back. If they come to the jail, we need to have programming in there that's going to work. It's proven that it works. It has results, and it's going to show that when we put them back out in the community, we're not just putting sick people back out in the community to keep recommitting crime in the city.
Good question. So, um, with your leadership style, do you feel like your approach to integrating the type of programs that you want to integrate, do you feel like it's going to be natural for the colleagues that's in the sheriff department? Do you think there's going to be resistance? Do you think it's going to happen with ease? How receptive do you feel like the professionals who work in that department will take your leadership style and approach when you come in with innovative ideas that may be different from what's current in place?
And that's a really good question, because the current situation, I'm probably gonna have some pushback. At this time, you're dealing in a culture where people are dying in the jail from fentanyl overdoses at a higher rate than anywhere in the state of Virginia. You're talking about shortages. You're talking about morale problems. The facility is under scrutiny right here now by the state of Virginia. So you got a lot of issues that's coming up. And you got to remember, the sheriff department has contactless visits. So any drugs or fentanyl or whatever the case may be, a portion of that is being brought in by your staff. So that's the mentality that they have. Now, when I come in, I'm going to start a rigorous recruitment effort, and it's going to be outside of this area. I'm going to go as far as New York and as far as down as Florida. And not only am I going to sell the city, I mean, the sheriff department, but I'm going to sell the city. Why it's good to come to the Richmond City Sheriff's Office, and why do you want to uproot your family and bring them here? We're going to change the mindset and the culture in that place. And those who don't follow will have to go.
What do
That's
you
my
feel?
policy.
How would you describe the current culture?
The culture now is morale is through it's horrible. It's horrible. And you got to think about it. You're in a place where you're working in the back of the jail, you're constantly being cussed out all day long, you constantly threatening. Who would want to work in an environment? That's why they have 200 vacancies down there as we stand, because nobody wants to work there. 200 vacancies is not turnover. That's management. That's not turnover. Anybody that has a business sense, anybody that ran a business, anybody that ran an organization, you always have turnover, but you don't have them at the numbers that they have at that place. So that tells me not only that do I get the responses from deputies all the time texting me saying, we need you. This place is horrible. The management, they allow the inmates to treat us and talk to us any kind of way. I have letters being written to me, emails, texts. And so that's the culture that's down there now. A lot of people want to change and do better, but they say, why am I going to stick my neck out, get myself hurt, battling with these inmates, and the management don't care. They don't enforce nothing. They treat the inmates as if they're the guard, they're the staff, and we the inmates. So that's the culture that's down there now.
Is
So
it
it's
fair to
uncaring.
Is it there's a saying that says, you don't let the inmates run the jail.
That's right.
Is the inmates running the jail right now? Since I mean they're
Well,
250 short. My goodness, who's in charge?
that's just it. When I was at the sheriff's department, they're running the sheriff's office right now with about 189, close to 200 people. I had one division when I was a colonel there that had 200 people in it. One division. She's running the courts. She's running all of the civil process. She's running the community relations. She's running the jail. She's running all of the staffing issue with 189 to 200 people. You're going to have devastating accidents. And 4 people went out last week alone for fentanyl overdoses.
Mm.
And I had a firefighter tell me, we might as well open up a station down there. We stay down there so much for fentanyl overdoses. So the inmates have total control. They talk to the staff in a kind of way. They treat the staff in a kind of way. And I get this from not just I have people on my team that has quit under this administration that told me how bad things were when they were there.
Let me ask you this. I mean, you've been in law enforcement for nearly 30 years. And I'm asking this question as a person who has not been ever, okay? How political is your position or the position of a leader in law enforcement? Oh, and I'm not talking about a general officer. I'm talking about someone like you who has had a title, colonel and sergeant, and these. How political is it?
Oh, it's very political, and it gets worse as it gets to the top. You know, if it was up to me, uh, I think they should turn law enforcement over to all sheriffs across the country because Jacksonville, Florida just done it, not some years back, not just done it, but some years back. But it takes the politics out of law enforcement when you don't have someone that can say, I'm gonna come in there and fire you if you don't go do this. I'm gonna do this if you don't do this. And it takes the politics out of policing. You know, when the current
So
previous
are you saying that there should just be sheriffs and not police?
I'm saying that based on how politics are today, I think that law enforcement, if they when they are at a standalone, when they are able to not be threatened and not be governed by what's popular or I like this person, I don't like this person. I want you to go in this neighborhood. I want you to go in this. I want you to make arrests today and not make arrests tomorrow.
Hmm.
So a lot of places, you get on places like Hanover that run everything. His boss is the people. And that's what I'm saying. The people are the boss and they dictate when they want you gone when you're not doing a good job. They tell you when it's time for you to go. But when you are hired or appointed by a individual or individuals in government, you have you got to do what they say. If
Hmm.
they want you to go into certain neighborhood and put a lot of emphasis on arrest, then you have that's your job. You got to do it if you want to keep your job.
Yeah.
So it plays politics plays a lot. I ain't saying that everybody needs to do that. I'm not saying that that's the fix for Richmond. I'm saying that because I also think that two organizations working together with the same goal could have a major impact on our crime in the city of Richmond. Me working with the police chief, coming from both sides, the policing side and the sheriff side, we could work together and make a huge difference in things in the city of Richmond.
Can you
Because you're
mention some
going
of the
from
people
having,
can you mention some of the people who's endorsed you? For some
well,
people, that means
just
a lot. Like when you can identify, a lot of times people learn you through other people. So,
I would tell you just recently, which is a big one, I was the only candidate, Commonwealth Attorney and the Sheriff Department. I was the only candidate was endorsed by the Richmond Coalition of Police. Um, that's the police union, in other words. That's our cop, what we call it. But they're the only ones that I was the only one that was endorsed by them. They didn't endorse anybody from Commonwealth Attorney's office, either candidate, and they didn't endorse the sheriff itself. I was the only candidate they felt that would be a good fit for the things that we want to do in the city to make a difference in the crime.
Mhm.
So I'm happy about that. Of course, I got my old boss, Sheriff Woody. I have some other sheriffs at this time, but they can't publicly do it because they won't come out and go against a sitting sheriff, but have expressed that they are very hopeful for me in this next election. I've had I got some school board people, I got some one Reva Trammell is one of my biggest supporters.
Mhm.
She's a councilwoman in the eighth district.
Mhm.
Um, I got some school board members, former school board chairman. They throwing an event at their house. The former CAO for the city of Richmond just had an event at her house for me. So I got some good, I got some good people that are endorsing me, and I got some out there that I wouldn't want an endorsement from. I'll be honest with be honest with you on that. And some of these politicians around this area, I wouldn't want to attach my name to.
Do
So,
you are
but
you right now as you're doing this, is it it's probably might not be a good question, but when it comes to like collaboration with like neighboring the counties and the sheriff's departments, does any of that play a role into how you campaign?
oh yeah, that's going to play a huge role. As it stands right now, the Richmond Police Department and Richmond Sheriff Office has the worst working relationship probably than anywhere in the state of Virginia.
Hmm.
When you got, uh, we just had a police captain locked in the lockup section because they went down to try to resolve a situation where the sheriff department didn't want to take an inmate versus uh, letting the officer leave and get back out on the street and patrol. They end up having to call supervisors, and they got all the way to the captain. The captain responded to the jail, and when he got down there, they locked him in and refused to let him out. And the only way he was let out is he had to threaten to get abduction warrants in order to get out of it. That's happened multiple times. We constantly have issues with the sheriff department all the time down there, and it's such a bad working relationship. Probably, like I say, one of the worst in the state of Virginia.
Dang.
I've even had a sheriff tell me himself he's never had a worse working relationship with any other sheriff department than the one in the city of Richmond.
As you've learned, I work in the mental health space, and I've heard you speak recently about the importance of mental health, and that seems to be something that's important to you. Um,
Yes.
what would you do to help the sheriff's department uh, ensuring that they're having that their mental health is at a quality level that they can perform their duties and jobs? I mean, these men and women endure crisis and trauma every single day. So what would you do to ensure that they are mentally healthy?
Well, I would tell you this, and I've said it in my last campaign, is the first thing that I'm going to do is hire my own psychologist to work for the sheriff department, not as a contractor, not as somebody just pops in and all, but they will work and the services will be free to all staff. It won't, and family. That's another thing. It's not just going to be for, because when you have trauma, and if I'm having trauma, I'm taking that trauma home with me, and it should be some type of outlet for not only the officer itself but the family, so they're going to have access to a full-time mental health specialist, and their family will also have access to it. And I'm going to make sure that we not only look at it, we're going to tailor it, because what an adult mental health specialist may not be good for a child. So I'm gonna have a child specialist that will work with that condition to make a difference in it. And I'm telling you this, I'm also gonna partner with a lot of agencies outside of the organization, because there's no one size fits all, in my opinion, especially when it comes to substance abuse as well. There's no one program that's going to work for everybody. So I'm bringing everybody to the table. I'm not reinventing the wheel because I don't have time for that. I'm not going, so I can say, look what I've done. The sheriff taunts about having 200 programs at the sheriff's office. So it basically tells me when you got 200 programs and you only have 189 people, and people are steady dying, and people are steady going to the hospital for fentanyl overdoses. Your 200 programs ain't worth a crap, in my opinion. And so I'm not going to say so I can run around the city and tell everybody I got 200 programs. I'm going to partner with people that have proven programs. I'm going to partner with people that can come in and help us make a difference in people's lives. And I'm not looking to gain no notoriety out of it by talking about all these different programs I have that don't work. I'm gonna bring programs already in place that have something proven and it can show. And I'm bringing as many people as I can in. They ain't gonna just be my friends like they have it down there now.
Yeah, well, remember me. Be careful. And everybody else, because I got a lot of mental health people that's listening. They're gonna listen.
That's
That's gonna stick out.
I promise you.
But I'll tell you this though, but also gotta be careful, man. There's about 3,500 private providers in Virginia. Is we are oversaturated with mental health providers
Mhm.
to not be better than we are. And so
Right,
you got to be careful. I mean, and I'm sure that's in all things, but particularly I talk to so many people that they say they get involved in mental health because they want to help someone. And that
right.
sounds good, but there's a lot of ways you
It
can help
does.
someone than getting involved in their mental health, particularly when you may not be stable yourself, you know. It
That's
may
right.
be, it may be you may just need to volunteer at the Y, or maybe you need to go, be an usher at a church. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
It ain't always mental health that you need to get involved with someone. But so question for you. Got a couple questions here as we're gonna
Can I just follow up real quick
yeah.
also? I also want with mental health, I also want people to know that I that's not my specialty. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's not my forte. I know. So I'm going to make sure that I bring a person in
Mm-hmm.
on the sheriffing side who
Mm-hmm.
knows what they're doing, who
Yeah.
can help monitor these programs coming
Yeah.
in. It won't be something I would do.
Of course.
Uh, I just want them to understand that.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Um, Chef Irving, if I recall, I don't know her on a personal level at all. I don't even know if I've even ever had a conversation with her. So I just recall seeing her in the pulpit, and so I'm imagining, and you may know this or not, but I know she's been in the pulpit at St. Paul's. I haven't been there in a while, so I don't know if she's still sitting there or not. But that I remember before she was elected, I'd seen her there, and I think she used to work in Henrico County. I think,
Yes, he
yeah,
came from Henrico County.
yeah. Um, I don't. This is a two-part question. Being a person of faith, do you know if it's part of her strategy to connect with the faith community? And has it been a part of your strategy to connect with the faith community? Because there could be a lot of people out there that say, well, I'm gonna vote for that sister, Sister Irvin. She's, Sister Irvin. You know how we do. We quick,
Right.
all we got to do is identify with something, and that's the way we go. So the church community may be connecting to her and say, hey, that's a good sister, da da da. So like, what are you doing? I don't know if that's our approach or it has been our approach, but my question is, are you tapping into the faith community as well? And are you getting any
Yeah.
feedback from them?
Oh yeah, I have. I've had several pastors that's come out and endorsed me. Of course, my own A. Lincoln James over at Trinity Baptist Church. Of course, he came out for me, and I've spoken to multiple churches since I've been campaigning. And I will tell you that it's unfortunate that we, as I hate to say it, but we as Black people, we tend to, like you say, gravitate to anything that looks good
Hmm.
instead of looking into what's going on. I would tell you based on the things that I hear. One, I'll say this. We brought Sheriff Irvin from Henrico and made her sheriff of the city of Richmond, even though she was demoted and forced out over in Henrico by her current sheriff. It's unfortunate if then we take somebody like her and we make her sheriff in the city of Richmond without even looking into backgrounds. Now, so now we sit back and we listen to, oh, she does the food program, although you can get that anywhere in the state, in the city of Richmond and the county and anywhere. She does the food program and the faith-based people. She sits in a but to know that person, I will not talk about her personally, but I will say this strongly. You should really research the people that you vote for. You should really look into what they really stand for, and not just in the faith base, talk to the people that work for, talk to the people that have worked for me. I'm not just talking about Sheriff Urban, I'm talking about myself as well. Talk to the people. I've always been, and I haven't just focused my attention on you can't be a good person just in church and then get out and then you're a bad person everywhere else. Me, I don't just focus my attention on the faith base. I focus my attention on our youth, my seniors, the Latin community. If you go back and you look at my background, and this was before I was running for sure. If you look at my background, it goes all the way back. My Facebook is an open book. You can go back and see where I raised money for kids, where I raised 5 grand to go to the directly to the teachers at Fox Elementary when the school burned down for the students. When I gave every 100 students, 100 kids in the Latin community, not just Latin, but the unfortunate, the less fortunate kids. When I gave 100, and I'm talking about when I gave those kids Christmas, it wasn't a few little things you stick in a bag. They had to drag the bags out of there. So I just don't focus on the faith-based community. When you're a good person, you focus on everything. You do good by everybody. So yes, I have reached out. I've partnered many times. I was at a church yesterday. The video was coming out, and the pastor was giving me this raving review about how often when he called me to do something, I was Johnny on the spot. He didn't have to worry about it. I was there. So I've always helped within the faith-based community, but the faith-based community is just part of me being having the character that I've had all my life. My mom and dad brought me up that way. I learned everything from them, how to be good to people. And then she used to tell me all the time, a closed hand can't nothing come out. And if you don't put nothing, and can't nothing come in. So you need to
Mm.
always be doing good by
Mm.
everybody.
In what ways do you plan to transform the sheriff's office into a more efficient, community-focused institution? And how will you ensure transparency and accountability within the department?
That's a really good question because I've been on the news multiple times and I told them this. Transparency is going to be so open for me. I've already committed to Channel 6, Channel 8, Channel 12, and Richmond Times Dispatch, and any other social outlet that I'm opening for the first time an office inside the sheriff department. That means each
Now, hold
organization
on.
will
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
have.
whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't have all the
Mhm.
big media in there and not have the little media too.
Uh, did you hear you didn't hear me? I said, and all the social media. I
Okay,
said,
okay, okay.
yeah, everybody will have access to that office. It's going to be a press office, and they'll get to use it at all anytime they want to. They'll have an ID. Whoever identify that works for that organization or runs that will have an ID to access. I'm going to do multiple press release, good or bad. When it's something bad, I'm gonna put it on. It ain't gonna be days and weeks and all. I'm gonna put it out there, and when it's good, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm also opening for the first time in the history of what we call in the Office of Inmate Advocacy. And that office will advocate for the rights of inmates internally in the jail. But it's also going to give access to the families when they call down there. And if you've seen on the news how many families have had family members die, and they on the news, we tried to reach out to the sheriff department. They refused to give us any information. They refused this. They won't have to worry about that. They won't have to be bounced around from phone call to phone call and getting the same answer. They will have an office called the Office of Inmate Advocacy that will advocate on the rights of everybody inside the Richmond Sheriff's Office. So it's going to be an open book. We're not hiding anything because when you hide, you got to make up all kinds of other stuff. We're gonna be open, and that was my commitment, and that's what Channel 6 said. Now remember, you saying this live right
Yeah.
on TV. Don't forget about it. So I'm telling you the same thing. That's gonna
I'm
be
gonna
an
be there.
open.
I'm gonna be there. Look,
Yeah,
like I said, little media gonna be there because as I've told them many times, 12 ain't always on your side, man. I mean, that's what they say.
that's right.
But
That's right.
depends on what side of it you on. And what I like that I'm hearing
That's
you
it.
say is good or bad, a lot of times the media just push out what's bad because that's
Right.
what gets people listening,
Oh no. Yeah, they get no. I'm a push out. first thing when I bring in my K9 dogs for the first time, and people look at the K9 detection dogs as a bad. Oh, he bringing dogs into the jail. These aren't vicious dogs. They're gonna be small dogs that's gonna detect drugs. But it's not for the benefit of the sheriff's office. It's the benefit of making sure people don't bring drugs in there that's gonna be harmful for our inmates.
Hmm.
So I'm doing this for the community. I'm not doing it for the sheriff's office or look. But
Hmm.
when I bring those dogs, I'm gonna call every press outlet in the state to come down there and see what we are doing to make sure that the drugs are not coming in our jail.
Well, Mr. Burnett, this has been a really good conversation. I appreciate you sitting down and talking with our listeners today, and we hope that you also come back. You come back after you win and talk about it, or if you lost, come back and talk about it. But it's looking really good for you. The optics, to me, the optics are looking really positive in your way. And if Sheriff Irvin is listening to this, or if you got some people out there, I don't. This kind of just fell. This here kind of presented itself. Us coming together just kind of naturally happened. I haven't been aggressively out here trying to pursue conversations lately. I've been but I'm open. And if
Right.
there's someone out there who's interested, and after listening to this conversation, you always can do a submission or inbox or email, and if it makes sense, we can have it. Obviously, this conversation makes a lot of sense because we're talking about a man who is putting himself out there to be a leader for our community. And we got to hear what he got to say, you know? And so we appreciate you. Thank you for showing up this past weekend at Community 50/50 event down at
Thank you
Baker
for having me.
Fitness. Yeah, that was really
And
nice too. So, any closing words before we go?
I really want people to understand this. Everything that I've said today can be researched, can be Googled, anything that I've talked to you about on this show. So I'm giving up the facts. I do want them to take me as a serious candidate. I want them to go out and vote, whether it's me or the other candidate, June 17th. I ask you to Google me, William Burnett. That's all you have to do, and it's going to bring up everything about me and find out my background. Look at my past, my family, my daughter. You're going to see an open book, like I said. But whatever you do, vote, if nothing else.
Yeah, you can
Thank you
either,
for having me, too.
no doubt, no doubt, man. You can either be in the game and vote, or you can be on the sideline and talk about what you would have did or what you should have did or what someone else. Look, get out there and
Right.
vote. Bottom line, to get out
That's
there and
right.
vote so you can add your part. Remember, to those who are listening, this podcast is played everywhere podcasts are played. Again, subscribe, hit a notification bell so you can be familiar with upcoming episodes as well. And again, thank you, Mr. Burnett. Definitely happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
All right, we're about to close this out, and we'll talk to you guys later next time.